So how many of you here are SciFinder users? Okay, how many of you just recently became SciFinder users with the new DOE? Okay, so if you're not aware, if you're not a SciFinder user, and if you've heard rumors of past, it had been previously very expensive to use SciFinder within most of the DOE, and at Argonne maybe specifically, is it? And we recently, with the help of the DOE, signed a complex-wide agreement. And the really wonderful thing about that is anybody at Argonne has the ability to use SciFinder, and it's not going to cost you anything. And so if you don't have an ID, I would connect with your friendly library staff who can get that for you. And I also think, especially in this time where economics are so hard and everybody hears about budget cuts, and especially in the government market, if you appreciate that, to really make it known that you appreciate what the library's done, you appreciate what the divisions are doing who funded that, because then that can keep that sustainable for you. So if you're not using SciFinder now, you will be able to, and Sharon Clark in the back of the room is the person who can get you that ID, so you would want to connect with her and request that. So we're going to talk about some of the newer features in SciFinder through the topic of renewable energy by using salt. Now, CAS is part of the ACS, and we support the ACS mission basically to make the world a better place through chemistry. And how we do that is we provide the information tools that can get you the scientific information that you need, and we work very diligently to make sure that you're getting the most current information out there. Now, we are the world's best chemistry research information tool, I think without a doubt. And my background's in chemistry. I have a master's in chemistry, and I was not trained in sales. I've never taken a business class. There's no way I could sell this if it wasn't just a truly wonderful, wonderful tool. And we also view chemistry not just as chemistry itself, but also all of the allied fields of science. And if you grab the little brochure out on the table, there's a pie chart of our content information, and general chemistry is not the biggest piece of that pie. There's a wide variety of physics, of medical science, of material science, lots of information in there, because as we know, science is not just done in a vacuum anymore. It branches out to all different areas. We have 4 major new functionalities in our last release of SciFinder. The one that we're most excited about is SciPlanner, and this is an interactive workspace where if you're doing synthetic chemistry, you can plan your reaction in a very intuitive, interactive manner, and we'll show that in a little bit in our talk. You also can sort references by the number of citing references, and so you can very easily identify prolific authors in that. Is this on? It's on mute right now. Okay. Now can you hear me? Oh, okay. So you can sort references by the number of citations that they have. And we have over 300 million citations in SciFinder, so that can become a very powerful tool. You also can paste chemical structures in from IsoStraw, so you don't have to necessarily redraw everything in SciFinder. And because Medline recently started uploading their citations, you can also view those within the context of SciFinder. So to make this a bit more interesting, though, we always try to bring in kind of a fun topic, and today's topic is going to be on the idea of salt power. Now, when I think of salt, I think of food, not because I like to cook, but because I like to eat what other people cook for me. But actually, food uses is only about 17.5% of the salt production in the world. It's more commonly used for metal processing, pigment manufacturing, even soap production. And now there's several groups that are looking at salt as a way of harnessing renewable energy. And this is basically through the gradient concentration of salt to fresh water and through the process of osmosis. And the wonderful thing about this as an energy source is there's no carbon dioxide emissions, there's no fuel costs, there's no contaminations. You won't have a big Japan incident from a salt power plant at any point in the future. So if you were interested in this topic or any other, SciFinder is a great place to go to. And with the new DOE license that covers Argonne, SciFinder can be the very first place that you go to. And you don't have to worry about if you have a license or not, because you can go to the library and get your ID without having to pay anything. So we ran a search in SciFinder on renewable energy with salinity gradient energy. And we pull back and you can see the answer set that you get. There's highlighting based on the
terms that caused these references to be pulled back. And because SciFinder is built to search on the CAS databases, you're harnessing the power of our editorial staff of over 600 scientists who sit back in Columbus, Ohio, right adjacent to Ohio State, and they go through all of these documents by hand. So anything that's not in English is translated to a full English summary. They pull out key terms from the full text of the document, and they standardize the terms. So if you searched on, say, the term synthesis in SciFinder, you also pull back preparation or prepared or synthesizing. It really streamlines your process. You can get back out to do what you need to do, which is probably not spending your whole day searching for information. I mentioned that we recently added the ability to sort by the number of citing references. The default sort in SciFinder is by a session number, so basically you're getting the most current information first, but when you sort by citing references, you're going to have the most prolifically cited reference first. And this can very easily allow you to ascertain who are the really heavy-hitting authors in a new area of science, which can be particularly helpful if you're doing something that's completely new to you and you want to find out who are these main authors. You can, with our nice analysis and refine tool, also sort and view linkages between companies or organizations as well, so you can get the competitive landscape and see who's publishing with whom. So another search that I ran in here, electrical energy from reverse electrodialysis, pulls back even more references. And I don't know about you, but when I was in graduate school, I did not want to spend my day sorting through 1,000 or 10,000 references. You obviously need some way to limit that literature down. And really, it's, as you probably all know, it's getting to the point where there's just too much information out there. And SciFinder really brings that too much information down to the 1 or 2 references that are pertinent to you. And so the refining and analyzing tools that I mentioned on the right-hand side, these are really what allow you to narrow your answer set down to what is pertinent to you. And in this instance, we wanted to limit our answer set down just to Medline so that we can show at the bottom of the screen, you can see the references in Medline that now are located within SciFinder. And this really pulls in those more biomedical references and makes it so that you don't even have to go to multiple places. You can just search within SciFinder, pull back the more chemical-related information and all of the interdisciplinary information that we abstract, but you're also pulling in the Medline database as well. Within SciFinder, we cover journals, obviously, very heavily. We cover just about 10,000 scientific journals. And of those scientific journals, 1,500 are searchable 5 days after publication. So we upload every night. I jokingly say we're the nerds of scientific information. We want to make sure you get it just as quickly as it's put out there. Within SciFinder, you can analyze your answer set to view the different journals in which people are publishing. And so that's what this screen shows you. You can very easily see, well, what journal might I want to publish in this new area of science, because it's where the vast majority of these scientists are putting their work. In addition to journals, we also cover conference proceedings, patent, scientific documents, and though journals are where we think of, I think, first, and obviously we have a wonderful collection of journals through our ACS Pubs division, we also need to cover that patent literature, even though patents are horrible. I always, whenever I would get a patent when I was in school, I would think, oh no, I'm not going to use this. But about half of science is only ever published in a patent. And so if you're not covering that patent landscape, you're missing a lot of information out there. And we do our very best to go and deconvolute that patent document for you. Our editorial staff has the delightful job of going through the full text patent, and they will actually enhance that abstract to make it more scientifically intuitive for you. They'll kind of write out the legalese and write in the science for you. And we also cover very heavily our foreign language patents. And the example on the screen here is a patent that is actually written originally in Chinese. So you can see that the abstract is in English. You can get an idea of what's going on in that document, so that if you do actually need to have it translated, you know that you're getting something that is translated will be beneficial to you as well. Statkraft is a company that is sort of pioneering the world of salt energy. And so they opened their first osmotic plant in 2009, and here you can see a diagram of the apparatus, and the semi-permeable membrane between the salt and the fresh water, this is sort of the crux of making this process of generating energy efficient, is that the compound in the membrane now doesn't produce enough energy to be cost effective with respects to current energy situations. And so if we were going to be moving into this area of science, probably the first thing that we would do is run a search, and the search that we ran here is membrane for osmotic power. And with that search, we pull back a reference answer set, and then in SciFinder, we can very easily link to the substances in that reference answer set. And so I have here a collection of 82 different substances that were pulled by my text search. And typically when you pull a substance record, you find just a plethora of information. One of the nicest things, and especially in the web version of SciFinder that we have now, is you can pull your predicted and your experimental property, which also includes spectra and other data tags. We have over 3.3 billion pieces of property data in SciFinder. So I love, and this is where I said I'm not a salesperson at heart, I'm a scientist, and I love when I go out and visit customers and I show them and their eyes light up, like Christmas has come in SciFinder. And so this is one of those Christmas moments that you could link to your NMR or your proton spectra, your mass spec right within SciFinder through a hyperlink. And again, just doing our very best to speed your research process so that you can get the information you need and then get back out into the lab to do what it is that you need to do. Or back to proposal writing, right? Or management or paperwork completion or whatever it is that you're doing in your role. So from my answer set of those 85 substances, I need to narrow that down because that is too much for me to deal with to plan any kind of science. And so I want to run maybe a substructure search on those compounds to see what else is out there to make sure that I have a very broad search before I start narrowing things down. You can now within SciFinder paste structures in from Isostra. We added the ability to paste in from Chemdra several months ago. So if you've not tried that, I would try the copy and paste from Chemdra, and you also can now from Isostra, so that you can use whichever tool you're most familiar and comfortable with. And when I was at Notre Dame and we switched to the e-notebook, my colleague had to redraw everything in the e-notebook because it wouldn't paste in from Chemdra, and she did very large synthetic schemes, and it was such a pain to redraw all the time that we talk about that at length over lunch. So within SciFinder now, no need to redraw. If you're using another drawing tool, just paste it in very easily. When you run your substructure search in SciFinder, you can see it, it's a little faint, but your base structure is highlighted in red, and all of the different structures that are added onto that are in black. And again, here we brought back 77 different substructures, and it's obviously too many to look at to start synthesizing in the lab. But on the right-hand side, again, you have your Analyze and Refine tool, and you can go in and analyze by a variety of different ways. The one that's highlighted now is going in and modifying the structure even more. So you could go in and choose to add different functional groups or limit by different functional groups. But you can also limit by another very useful tool is that property data. So if you know that you need a certain melting point or boiling point or a specific density, you can go in and limit your structural answer set by that property data as well. So again, trying to find the most relevant substances from that answer set to narrow down the vast collection of information that's out there today. And just the purpose of refining is to get you the most pertinent documents. And here now we've narrowed this answer set down to those substances that have reaction availability. So if I know that I want to find a new membrane for the power production using a salt plant, I need to have something that I can synthesize and create. And so I can limit that answer set down to those which just have reaction information in our database. So from those substances that have information, yes? Okay, so the question is, how far back does the reaction information go? And I mean, we have content coverage back to the 1800s is the answer to that. We recently added, about a year ago, older synthetic collections into SciFinder as well. We really focus in the reaction database, though, on the new information, on the information that is most cutting edge. We add between 30 and 50,000 new reactions each week into the reaction database. And so we upload that database on a weekly basis, and so you can find that information very, very quickly with when it is published. But we do focus most heavily on the newer, the cutting edge information that's being done, but we've added several of those back collections as well. So does that answer your question? We are content nerds too. For scientific information nerds, we are content nerds too. And so I'll leave with the library staff a list of all of our different coverage, because it's if you love to know what's there, you could stare at it for hours and feel just wonderful and warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that you have pretty much everything you need in SciFinder. So when you refine your answer set based on reaction availability, you can also then very nicely link to and see who are the people that are publishing this information. And here's that StatCraft development again. They have several patents on this particular technology, which obviously makes sense. If they're trying to pioneer in salt energy, they would be patenting lots of things. With our patent coverage, we cover over 50 different languages, and this is for our journals too, but 50 different languages, 185 different countries, and we cover 61 patent granting authorities worldwide. And especially for my customers, I have government customers where the work that you're doing is not necessarily, you're not probably doing pharmaceutical development. You're doing things that are a bit more fringe. We cover the technologies that are patented in those smaller countries that maybe aren't going to be covered anywhere else, and we pull in those unique patents from, say, Puerto Rico. And so that will pull that information that you probably wouldn't get anywhere else. So we limited our substances specifically based on those that have reactions available, and we can easily pull the reactions that are synthesizing those compounds. And with this answer set, you can very easily upfront see by the little flasks what is and what is not commercially available. So even without linking to our supplier database, you can see right up front, is this a good reaction? Can I buy everything? Should I even synthesize the product? Could I just buy the product rather than synthesizing it in the lab? So that again streamlines your process to make it as easily accessible and quickly accessible to you. Well, our answer set will by default in the reactions sort by relevance. So our algorithm will determine which reactions are most closely related to the information that you want, but you also have a wide variety of ways to choose how you want to sort the answer set. So you could sort by product yield if you wanted to, or by number of steps. And so this just highlights that you could sort by product yield, so that those reactions that are most heavily yielding are going to populate the list first within SciFinder. So again, trying to get you what information would you want most heavily at the beginning of your answer set. We also have recently enhanced our reaction display, making it more streamlined. You can easily link to the abstracted record within SciFinder. And this is one more of those like light bulb Christmassy moments. We've added the experimental procedures from select journals and select patent offices. And so again, right within the confines of SciFinder, you can click on the hyperlink and view the entire experimental procedure. A lot of times there'll be NMR data as well. And so very quickly you can know if a particular reaction is interesting to you without even ever leaving the confines of SciFinder. And again, you see the little highlighting of the flasks. You can know if something is commercially available or not. From that reaction scheme, you can import reactions to SciPlanner. And I discussed SciPlanner at the very beginning. This is an interactive workspace where you can pull reactions and references and substances in, and you can actually go in and plan your own synthetic scheme, trying to make SciFinder a way not only to find information, but to help you organize that information so that you can go right from SciFinder to your group meeting or to your boss and present a new pathway for something. So I can pull in reactions from the library, and throughout my search I can send things very easily to the library. They're housed there until I'm ready to go to SciPlanner, open it up, I can pull reactions over. The entire workspace is interactive. And so, and I'm actually going to go back, so I have my reaction there. I can see that one of the reactants is not commercially available. There's not a flask by it. If I mouse over over that substance, it will pull out a hyperlink search menu. And one of the many options is synthesize this. So I can click on the synthesize this, go out, find reactions that I would use to synthesize this particular starting material, pull them into SciPlanner, and now you can see I added the beginning steps to synthesize the compound in that reaction pathway. If I want to highlight all of these substances and pull back the references for them, I can very easily do that as well. So if I highlight each compound and click Get References, I can link back out to SciFinder, pull the references in which those reactions were, and then pull those references, those citations, back into SciPlanner. And so right within my one page, I have my entire synthetic scheme along with the publications as well. And we have a very nice export or print option where you can print this or export it either as an image or as a PDF. And I always joke, it formats it nicely, so you're not cutting off your compound like right in the middle of it and then having to tape things together, which I do routinely with Excel when I go to meetings. But it will format it so that it prints very nicely on one sheet for you and makes a very professional document that you can take to a meeting, you can take to your advisor or to your students and show them the pathway by which you want to synthesize a particular compound. So the focus of SciFinder is we know that your research is evolving on a day-to-day basis, and so we really work very hard back in Columbus trying to make your research easier to perform. We have a wonderful product development team. A lot of them are PhD scientists who've been in the lab and who are trying to think in ways that you would want to use SciFinder. And we want to make sure that we do whatever we can to help you find information that puts you on the right track for research. And I always joke, you don't ever want to get 6 months into a project and find out that you missed something and that it's already been done and that you have just recreated the wheel and you have no publication options after that. And so SciFinder will find you information based on everything that we put in there to make sure that you're heading down the right road and making good decisions and finding the easiest and the best ways to wade through all of the literature that's out there today, because there's too much for one person to cover, and so SciFinder really makes it so that you can find what it is that you need. Now my last little tip is don't forget to stay current with your Keep Me Posted. So if you haven't use SciFinder, and if you've not set up Keep Me Posted before, what this is it's an automatic search that you can configure in SciFinder to run on either a weekly or a monthly basis. When SciFinder runs the search, if it finds answers that are relevant to your needs, you'll get a nice email in your inbox with a hyperlink and the first few references right in that email, and you can very easily click the hyperlink, log into SciFinder, and view the results of your search. And this really automates the process. So if you're monitoring an area of literature, SciFinder will do it for you. You don't even have to remember to log in and to search it. And we recently released SciFinder Mobile that you can log onto using your smartphone without an app. It's just scifindermobile.org. And there you can even view your Keep Me Posted. So if you are like my mother-in-law and you spend 3 hours on a Saturday night reviewing all of your Keep Me Posteds for the last week, you can do that. Or when you are off somewhere waiting in line at the doctor's office, you can view all your Keep Me Posteds on SciFinder Mobile. And so that's a wonderful new option to make your life a little bit easier. So if you're stuck at the doctor, rather than reading a magazine, you can actually get some work done and view all your Keep Me Posteds. So and there it just shows you the frequency. Either if you want to see them every single week, you can do that, or if you want them on a monthly basis, you can do that. And so I want to thank everybody for coming to this session. We're going to have a great day today, and open the floor if there are any questions that anybody has. Yes?
Care to take questions relating to how to perform a specific function within SciFinder? Is that a Google area?
We can potentially do that. If it gets very in depth, we might want to talk offline. But yeah, if you have a question, I'm.
So I have two questions that might be of general interest to other users. One is there a way within SciFinder that I could select a grouping of documents and then have SciFinder notify me when any of those documents are cited by a recently published paper?
That's a great question. There is not, like on your Keep Me Posted, there is not a way to directly configure it to do that. But I will say that our product development team is always looking for great ideas, and that sounds like a great idea. So I will submit that. I mean, I think one of the nice things about SciFinder and CAS being a part of the ACS is we're a not-for-profit, and so we really, at the end of the day, we want to support your research. And I mean, we're not looking to make millions of dollars at the end of the day. We're looking to support chemists in the community. And so the one thing that I love about interacting with customers is getting ideas like that. So I will definitely submit that, because that would be very, very useful, I think. So, and your other question?
My other question is, so being an ACS member,
right,
I go to the meetings and whatnot, and often I'll do a search, and I'm really wanting to limit what comes back to things published in the peer-reviewed literature. And I'll get things like, you know, ACS abstracts or division abstracts included in that. And I haven't looked recently for a way to filter that out, but in the past when I've looked, I've seen no easy way to automatically exclude, you know, meeting proceedings and non-peer-reviewed literature from the search results.
There is, within the Analyze tab, if we pulled up, you can limit to just journals. Now, what we might consider a journal might not be what because we do, I mean, we know that not everything that might be interesting to you is published in a peer-reviewed journal. And I always give the example of my master's thesis was on a protein that dissociated upon purification in every kind of column that you could imagine. And my boss completely abandoned the project, never published a single paper about it, but I presented at 3 conferences. And you could find those proceedings in SciFinder. And so I joke, if you don't want to waste 3 years of your life, you would run that search in SciFinder, find that information, email my boss, and find out this is not a good project. And so we do include that information, but I do know, I mean, there are times when you just want to limit to, say, journals. You can, within the Analyze, you can analyze by journal. And so you could go through and click on the names that are interesting to you, or you could do a search within an answer set and narrow to a specific journal of interest. There's not a way to limit to a particular collection of journals, but again, that could be something that would be, because it is, with so much information being published out there, we have to find the best ways to narrow down to what you want, and I can see that being a concern.
Yeah, that comes up pretty frequently, you know, especially with ACS. You know, you might have an abstract for that presentation in the environmental chemistry division's collection of abstracts, and then the general ACS abstract. So you're getting a lot of those essentially redundant hits that can quickly expand
your answer set beyond what you want. Yeah, yeah, those are great. Those are wonderful suggestions, and I will bring those back to Columbus. So, do you have other questions? Okay. I always love it when the questions are something I can magically provide, but the suggestions are good too, so thank you.
Not a question, but a suggestion.
Yes.
And I know it's chemical abstracts, but from a sort of getting other people outside of chemistry interested, the presentation focused very heavily on areas that would be of particular interest to hardcore chemists.
Right.
I think if the presentation was expanded in a way that maybe pointed out some reasons for why, outside of, say, reaction chemistry, you might
sure
SciFinder instead of Web of Science.
Yep.
Or you know, kind of a compare and contrast thing. I'm trying to get our colleagues excited and
yeah,
keep this access here, and I think it would be helpful. Yeah, I'm in the biosciences division. So
yes, yes.
I told everyone, well, this search is Medline, so you know, this isn't just chemistry, but I think there is a perception, and the focus of this presentation maybe feeds on this perception.
Right.
This really is of most use to chemists, and I would argue that it's
See, will you come preach the SciFinder gospel with me? No, I think that is absolutely certain, and especially moving the DOE to this site-wide license where everybody can have an ID, whether you're a chemist or somebody who's maybe in biosciences, that really does, because people are not familiar with SciFinder if they're not a chemist in many ways, because chemists use SciFinder. My husband, when I started working at CAS, was like, why do they even need sales reps? Doesn't everyone already have SciFinder? Like, are there sales to be made even? Who doesn't have it? But I agree with you, and I think we're going to work with the library to provide some trainings later on this fall or through the winter, and those will absolutely focus on things that are non-synthetic. So we, with the creation of SciPlanner, we're very focused on that function, and so we highlighted that today. But I absolutely agree that for somebody who's maybe a related science, they might not be so interested in the synthetic work that SciFinder does. So Sharon? Yeah.
Would it be the topic or the time, the fact that it's online, where it's located?
Yeah, I think that is a great question. How do you choose what to attend and what not to attend? And it is hard, too, because you're trying to get colleagues within a bioscience division to come use SciFinder so that you can support it, so that it can be a sustainable tool, but it's not always so easy to do that. So yeah, I mean, if you have suggestions for that, because we will be scheduling training throughout the year to make sure that we get as many interested users as possible so we can keep SciFinder and keep it funded so that it is accessible and affordable. Yes? Okay, so short, how do you define short? Okay, that's helpful. That's helpful. Okay, any other? Yes?
So is it necessarily targeted for the ACS, the library, here on site? I'm registered for the SciFinder Access. I enjoy it. I would like to provide positive feedback. Is there an avenue for providing the yes, I enjoy this, I would really like to see it continue beyond just continuing using it and saying thank you to our librarians?
Actually, what I suggest is that the contribution rate about that, and that come the library on the message to your division director or send an email to us and copy your division director saying how much you put down at the school, because in 1 year we will be going back to the ALDs and division directors and requesting financial support for that. And so not just the librarians who are finding this valuable, but also the division director. That's the way to
We will, CAS will do that, and we'll provide that statistical information. But I do know, I mean, I deal only with government customers, and SciFinder is expensive because we want to make sure it's a quality tool, and that's where the expense goes into there so that we can hire good scientists, that we can expand our content, that we can put information in there in a timely manner. But time and time again, the way that government organizations can, one, afford SciFinder initially and keep it around is by you as the scientist being very obnoxious with your division directors and with your library and letting them know. And I mean, like, it's almost like running a political campaign. Like, I joke that I'm almost ready to go out and kiss babies, because you have to make sure that they know, because library services are so intangible, and that's why libraries are getting cut so heavily. And I think that years down the road, we'll see that our science was affected because we didn't have the information there that we needed. But if you're not obnoxious about it, and if you don't email your division director or have your colleagues email your division director and make sure that it's in their face and they know when it comes time for funding, they'll fund something that somebody was obnoxious about. So, and that's for any service that's of use to you. It's very good to let people know, because they always hear the bad, they don't hear the good. So letting them know that it really helps what you're doing is very important. So how are we on time? Okay, yes.
Some way to automate that.
Yeah, the question was linking out to the journals from SciFinder to the specific journals of interest, and then downloading the journals to your hard drive, correct? Yeah. Now, are you linking inside? Does SciFinder, when you click on the Get Full Text, does it link you to the PDF of the journal?
It links, some of them link, some of them don't, but even if I pull up a full answer set, I can, like, it's still, I have to go individually to each one and hit download and save it, and then tell it where it wants to save. I can't actually batch download those PDFs.
Okay. Yeah, and so the question also encompasses like batch downloading of PDFs, and that's always a tricksy thing, because it's the interface between SciFinder and between publishers. And so, I mean, you should be able to, for those journals that the library subscribes to, you should be able to link to them and to pull up that PDF, and you shouldn't have to input any information. It should route you right there. those journals that you don't subscribe to, you would go to, maybe takes you to like an interlibrary loan page or to a fee-based page. And so that's where, and there's not in SciFinder, and I know this is a question that we get, like, you want to see, can you get full text? You want to see a little button that says there's full text here if you click on this. And even more convenient would be the batch downloading of those documents. And so I think that, I don't know if the library has more comments. I mean, is that something that you've discussed? I don't even know if actually that is possible, because it's that interface between the search tool and the publisher that becomes a little bit tricksy. So, yes?
A suggestion based off of that.
We need you to talk to
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Say you could check off 10 articles that you want.
Right.
If then, by clicking export or whatever, it could download a window or a tab for each. The publishers go to different places when you get the PDF. So if each tab could go to the furthest that publisher
can possibly
would take you still have to go and click on the PDF. I don't know of any way to do that, but at least in her question, she would just have to go to the 10 tabs and click on PDF.
Each individual
rather
one.
than step.
Right.
That would save time.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, I know the linking to full text is probably, I mean, you just want it there. You just want it there. You don't want to have to hassle with anything more than one click for 20 documents. And so I will take that back. I think those are great suggestions. Any other?
Last one.
Okay. Any other questions? One more.
Well, this time, sure.
You just want the microphone back, don't even.
I'm a storyteller. I love the microphone. Since there's time, one of the things that I always bring up with database, you had the properties screen where you do a from and to. I've always believed there should be a bar so you can expand or contract. You don't have to type in the numbers. And then if you want a window of 20 whatevers, you could just keep moving that bar or
further
expand
and have
rather
a fluid
than having to type and type and type and keep track of your numbers. Yeah,
that's a wonderful suggestion. The property information, it was just a couple of years ago that we had 1.1 billion pieces of property data, and it is obviously tripled now. And that is an area that we're really, really excited about. So I think that there will be wonderful developments in that area coming. So I'll send that back as well, because really people, especially physical chemists, when they see the property data, it's like they're like, I need to leave this training session and go search immediately because I have 5 things that I need to look up right now. So I want to thank everybody for coming to this session, and I'll be here all day. So feel free to come up and accost me with all of your questions or suggestions or ideas, because I'm very, very interested in making sure that we do our very best to serve you. So thank you.
Jennifer's email is also in our program, so if you think of anything later, I'm sure she would not mind you contacting her.
Yeah, and I have cards too. So if you need a business card too, that I can get those out to you as well. So thank you, everybody.